Okay, this is technically video 1 for chapter 11. I say that because I posted some extra videos in this module that are just some other videos I made before about time value of money, which is covered in the appendix of this chapter. I'd recommend looking at those to understand bond pricing a little bit better. But they are technically in the appendix, so I put them as extra, but I would highly recommend using those as a resource to make sure you understand how time value of money works, and then how obviously how present value factors work so that we can price our bonds. So first, just defining what a bond is in the first place. So a bond is effectively a form of a loan in a lot of ways. So, or also known as a bond indenture. So effectively, a company will sell a bond, okay, and the agreement of the bond is that they will pay interest throughout the life of that bond, and at the end of the bond, they will pay back the face amount. So the face amount of the bonds is the amount that is due at the maturity date. The face amount is due at maturity, which means at the end. Due at maturity, which means they'll pay that back at the end of the time frame. The interest rate, exactly what it sounds like, is the interest rate on the bonds, also called the coupon rate. And then the market rate of interest is the interest rate for similar bonds on the market. And we're usually talking about similar risk bonds, similar types of bonds. So the interest rate is the rate that we actually pay in cash, but the market rate of interest becomes the effective interest on the bond, because what happens is bonds sell for either more or less than their face value based on the difference between the interest rate, or the coupon rate is also another name for it, and the market rate of interest. Because if the market rate of interest is different than the interest rate that the bond is paying, then individuals are usually going to ask for either a discount or sell it at a premium based on the fact that they are either paying better, paying more, or paying less than what the market is calling for. So an important point to make here is that if the market rate is higher than the contract rate, then it will be sold at a discount. And a discount means less than the face value. If the market rate is less than the contract rate, sold at a premium, which is more than face value. And finally, if market rate equals contract rate, interest rate, then it will be sold at face value. Okay, so let's think about this a little bit. So if I am selling a bond, and let's just do an example real quick. So if I've got $1 million worth of bonds, oops, one more zero there, $1 million worth of bonds, and the coupon rate is, let's say 8%, and let's say there's 10 years, and most bonds are semi-annual, so 2 payments per year. Let's make the market rate of interest for now 8%. So the bond selling price is going to be, it's something I covered in the other video, but it equals present value, market rate of interest divided by the number of payments per year, number of periods times the number of payments per year, payment, which I need to fill out here, future value is 0, type is 0. Figure out the interest. I need to take $1 million times the coupon rate divided by the number of payments per year. Oops, I'm sorry, I misspoke. The future value needs to be the maturity value. Okay, so what I did was I figured out, and again, you need to watch the other videos for the present value functions, but what I did is I figured out the present value of $40,000 payments. So I discounted back every payment, every interest payment, which would be 2 per year for 10 years, so a total of 20 payments, discounted back to present value. And then I also discounted back $1 million payment back to present value. And I used the interest rate, or in this case called the discount rate, of 8% to do that. So, excuse me. So as you can see, because with this bond, my market rate of interest equals my coupon rate or my interest rate for the bond. This could also be contract rate. It's a lot of different words used for the same thing in this chapter. Contract rate. My selling price is exactly the same. My selling price is the face amount. So that's an example of this one here, when the market rate of interest equals my contract rate. And that makes sense. So think about if I've got a whole bunch of bonds to choose from to buy, and I'm selling a bond, and the person who's buying it has options on what to buy. And bonds that are basically the same risk, maybe same size company, similar in all the ways that matter, are selling at a rate of 8%. I'm selling mine at a rate of 8%. Then they're all going to sell for the face value, the price that is actually there, because I don't need it to have a premium or a discount. Now, if the market rate is greater than the contract rate, so let's make this 10%, I'm going to have to sell it at a discount. So let's step back and say, all right, I'm selling a bond and I'm paying 8% interest, but everybody else who's selling bonds, similar risk, are selling for 10%. People don't want to buy my bond. I'm not going to buy. Why would you buy a bond that's paying 8% when you have the option to buy a bond that's 10%? The answer is you wouldn't, unless they discount the price. So what discounting does is effectively make this bond return for the investor, for the person buying the bond, return 10% interest, even though the actual interest paid is 8%. But we would only receive, when we sell this bond, if the market rate is 10 and the coupon rate is 8, we would only receive $875,377.90. We would not receive the full $1 million. Okay, so that is an example of this one here, market rate greater than contract rate. Now the final one, if my market rate is less than my contract rate, it is going to be sold at a premium, meaning more than $1 million. So basically, same situation. If there's a whole bunch of bonds being sold on the market and I'm trying to sell my bond, everybody else is selling and they're only paying 5% interest and I'm offering to pay 8%. People want my bond, and people want it so bad that I can charge more for it. I don't have to charge just $1 million. I can charge more than $1 million because of the fact that I am paying a better interest rate than what the rest of the market is paying. People are willing to pay more for my bond. And again, the effective rate of interest in this case is going to end up being, the 5%. The market rate will always end up being the effective interest rate. So we'll stop there for now, and I'll continue with how to account for bonds in the next video.